do a brief introduction of the course IB Chemistry. So first, I'll be going over some assessment objectives. These are the 4 aims that will be formally assessed externally and internally. The first aim is that everyone needs to demonstrate knowledge and understanding of facts, concepts, and terminology, methodologies and techniques, and communicating scientific information. So, this is very important. IB wants everyone to learn a few vocabularies that are related to this course, and it is very important to learn them according to how IB teaches it. Okay, the second aim is that everyone needs to apply what they've learned. And the third aim is that everyone needs to formulate, analyze, and evaluate hypothesis, research questions, and predictions, methodologies and techniques, primary and secondary data, and scientific explanations. The last, fourth aim is that everyone needs to demonstrate the appropriate research, experimental, and personal skills necessary to carry out insightful and ethical investigations. So IB stresses the importance of personal engagement in learning, and they want to see what you can contribute to science. Okay. Now we're going to go over the syllabus outline. These are the core topics that both SL and HL students need to cover. So as you can see, there are 11 different core topics. Higher level students need to participate in additional higher level learning. As you can see, the topic titles are similar to the core topics. So higher level students will be learning the core topics in much more depth. Okay. Practical scheme of work. In addition to all of the learning, both SL and HL students need to participate in 3 practical schemes of work. The first one is practical activities, which is mostly the labs that will be conducted in your classrooms. The second is individual investigation, which is short for IA. This will be explained further on. The third practical scheme of work is your Group 4 project. This will also be explained further on. Okay, next is the assessment outline. I bet this is what everyone is most curious about. This shows how both SL and HL students will be graded. As you can see on the left-hand side, everyone would be graded by their paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, and internal assessment. Paper 1, 2, 3 is known as the external assessment, which is your test. And the internal assessment, which is short for IA, is a research paper that is done on your own. As you can see, the overall weighting is different for SL and HL students. Okay, this is very important. Your external assessment is composed of paper 1, 2, 3, so they're your tests. For SL students, your paper 1 will have a weighting of 20%, and there will be 30 multiple choice questions on your core topics. Okay? The use of calculators is not permitted in paper 1. You will be given a periodic tables, and no marks will be deducted for incorrect answers. Okay, how about HL students? HL students have a similar weighting, 20%, but there's going to be 40 multiple choice questions on core and on additional higher level topics. The use of calculators, again, is not permitted. HL students will also be given a periodic table, and no marks are deducted for incorrect answers. Okay, paper 2 As you can see, the weighting of paper 2 is pretty high. It's 40%. And it's going to be composed of short answer and extended response questions on core material. The use of calculators is permitted this time, and you will be given a chemistry data booklet. For HL students, the weighting of paper 2 would be 36%. Similar to SL, it will be composed of short answer and extended response questions on core and additional higher level material. Okay? The use of calculators is permitted, and HL students will also be given a chemistry data booklet. Lastly, paper 3 has a weighting of 20%, and paper 3 will have questions on core and SL option material. This paper is divided into sections, Section A and Section B. Section A has one database question and several short answer questions on experimental work. This is your labs. Okay. Section B has short answer and extended response question from one option topic. The use of calculators is permitted, and the data booklet will be given. For HL students, paper 3 will have a weighting of 24%. This paper will have questions on core, additional higher level, and option material. Same as SL, this paper will be divided into two sections, Section A and Section B. The use of calculators is permitted, and a chemistry data booklet will be provided. Now, let's talk about the internal assessment in detail. This is a very, very important part in your chemistry course. Okay, let's look at the purpose. The purpose of the IA is to enable students to demonstrate the application of their skills and knowledge, and to pursue their personal interest without the time limitations and other constraints that are associated with written exams. So technically, the IA is a research paper that you work on your own without time limitations, unlike the external assessments. So you can demonstrate your skills in a more long-term manner, you can think more, you can be more creative, and you can show some personal engagement. Below that, I'm going to look over the components of the internal assessment. So the weighting is 20%. This means that it has similar weightings to each of your papers. So it shows that the internal assessment is pretty important, right? Next, the criteria. There are 5 criteria to assess the final report of the individual investigation. The first criteria is personal engagement. The second is exploration, analysis, evaluation, communication. We're going to look at each of the criteria in more detail. The first criteria, personal engagement. It assesses the extent to which students engage with exploration and makes it their own. It includes addressing personal interests or showing evidence of independent thinking, creativity, or initiative in the designing, implementation, or presentation of the investigation. So this is pretty straightforward. You need to show why you have decided to research the particular subject. So this criteria assesses how personal you have made your own IA. The second criteria is exploration. It assesses the extent to which student establishes the scientific context for the work, states a clear and focused research question, and uses concepts and techniques appropriate to IB. It assesses the awareness of safety, environmental, and ethical consideration. So this criteria assesses how much background information you have put in for the investigation and how you have set up your methodology of investigation. Okay, so the third criteria is analysis. It assesses the extent to which students' research provide evidence that the student has selected, recorded, processed, and interpreted the data in ways that are relevant to the research question and can support a conclusion. Okay, this criteria shows that you need to have sufficient quantitative and qualitative. Raw data that supports your conclusion. Also, your data processing should be accurate and consistent with the experimental data. Also, you would be needed to include your measurement uncertainty. The fourth criteria is evaluation, and assesses the extent to which students' report provide evidence of evaluation of the investigation and the results with regard to the research question and the accepted scientific context. So this sounds difficult, but it says that you just need a detailed conclusion that is described and justified, and that you would need to include strengths and weaknesses of the investigation, such as limitations of the data and sources of error. Also, you would need to include suggestions of improvement. The fifth criteria is communication. It assesses the extent to which the investigation is presented and reported in a way that supports effective communication of the focus, process, and outcomes. This is pretty straightforward. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the Group 4 project. This is an activity which all IB students participate in. The purpose of this project is for students from different Group 4 subjects to come together and analyze a common topic or problem. This is going to be done differently according to your different schools, so I'll stop here. And now let's begin with our IB chemistry course.